Hey, it might help if I had my mic unmuted. But once again, guys, when the warden is gone, the inmates run the show. It's Chris Best, OMD, doing Turnbuckle Talk this week. OMD, brother, how are you doing?
I am wiped today. I had a very hard physical day at work. I'm not complaining because it'll help me sleep tonight.
Yeah, you were telling me how you had a few deliveries to do today. Was
Yeah,
it
I
or
went out. I went out on the truck this morning for what was supposed to be 3 deliveries, but one delivery was to 2 different places
Mhm.
and just absolutely massive. So it took. I think that delivery alone took 3 hours between driving out there, the first setup, and then driving to the next location and the next setup.
Sounds like you could have used an extra hand there. Hint. Hint,
Probably,
hint.
probably.
um, no,
I had initially suggested 3 of us going out for this,
yeah.
but they decided to send me out due to my experience, even though my partner today and I had never built this bed before, and then we had 2 of them to do.
It's really actually I've built beds before. It's once you've even if it is a different bed, it's very easy to learn once you've gotten the mechanics, as it were, for building a bed. At least from what I found, you know.
It is, it is. And we are getting Together Adventures, which I believe is the warden. Good
It
evening,
it,
Together Adventures.
it is the warden. How's it going, my man? Glad to have you on our show. We're talking OMD's delivery woes right now.
I
Um,
will say this, the tip that came out of that, though, was extremely beneficial.
paid for your lunch for the next few days, didn't it?
It did.
Um, my day was a bit on the lazy side, but today I did manage to snag the new games that we're going to be doing on the PlayStation Showcase. And I got to say, the one we're doing tomorrow, I'm having a lot of fun with it right now.
Nice. Nice.
Um,
On that note, I did speak with Bubba Duke, and as of right now, he is in for Thursday.
okay. Um, I'm
Of
still
course,
going to
that
keep.
could change.
Yeah, I'm taking that with a grain of salt right at this moment. But you and I do still need to get in touch with one another off show so that we can figure out. Maybe we can do it after the show. Figure out how to get together and play MLB The Show 24, which is going to be next week's game.
Yes.
Speaking of MLB, I'm trying to get to NXT, which, again, for anybody in Canada, if you don't have the USA Network or the way OMD watches it, it's available to watch on Sportsnet now. It's available to watch live. There it goes. It took me like 5 minutes for that thing to load, but let's get right into our stories of the week.
Let's do it.
As I believe the music is still looping in OMD's head. He's giving the thumbs up. Oh,
No
there he
worse
is.
than Randy. It's no worse than Randy Orton's voices.
Well, I didn't want to do this for a fourth week in a row, but we do have a wrestling passing to discuss.
Yes, yes, we do.
He's not very well known to guys like myself, OMD, Carl, I would have to imagine. But we're talking about the passing of a former triple WF. I'm not going to say WW. You know, I am going to say WWWF Tag Team Champion Sonny King passed away Saturday, August 31st at the age of 79 years old. He began his career as a professional boxer, transitioned into wrestling with the help of Ernie Big Cat Ladd. Everybody knows who he is. Um,
Yes.
the news of his passing was confirmed by Patty Leonard Johnson, who is a friend of his. He's been battling Alzheimer's for the last decade, and he fought hard to the very end. The history behind this man is that he is the first black champion in WWE Worldwide Wrestling Federation history.
Wow. I didn't read into the whole article. I just saw that we had another fallen soldier. And I had seen that had been over a decade that he had battled ALS,
and this sort of hits a little bit home for me right now on the personal level, of which I do not wish to get into at this moment. But a fallen soldier, a man who's paved the way for African American wrestlers. We can put it at that as well.
A trailblazer.
Yeah. Got into the business, like I said, because of Ernie Ladd. And again, Ernie Ladd was another guy who trailblazed everything. And again, our heartfelt condolences go out to Sonny King's family and his friends during this difficult time. We here at Turnbuckle Studios wish to send our condolences to him. And a massive thank you for everything you have done in the wrestling business.
Thank you, Sonny.
So let's move on to some of the later some stories that I found. We've got a lot of signings and departures that happened this week.
We do?
We've got one that we need to cover like right this instant because it broke news today. And I'm talking about one wrestler from TNA Wrestling who I didn't expect that she was going to leave TNA, but she was granted her release today. And that is one Gisele Shaw.
Yes, and another trailblazer, as she is one of only 3 openly active that we are aware of transgendered wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am a huge Gisele Shaw fan.
I remember we had done some speculation on some of the crossovers that we were going to get from TNA, and Gisele Shaw was mentioned several times in our discussions. As right now, speaking of crossovers, we've got the Rascals taking on Gallus and Hank and Tag right now.
Yes.
I would like to. Where would you like to see Gisele go after her? If she has if there is a no compete clause with TNA, where would you like to see her end up going?
I would like to see potentially her go and get some more seasoning on the Indies, and then potentially come to NXT.
Okay, but you could also, if she were to come straight to NXT, let's take a look at this. She doesn't. Like I said, it did surprise me that she does leave. Carl coming in and saying that the spouse and him, Carl's a girl now. No. The spouse and him met Gisele, and she was absolutely amazing. Such a nice soul. I agree. I like that Carl had said that because I've heard nothing but positive things about her as well.
Yes.
But you were talking about going out and getting that seasoning on the Indies. I mean, she doesn't have too much experience as it is in the pro wrestling ring. We all know that. If you go to the PC, though, couldn't you get some more of that seasoning? Take a look at, for instance, Jade Cargill on the main roster. Look at how much she's improved.
You absolutely could. She has worked quite a bit of the Canadian independent circuit.
Yes.
But I would like to see her go out, get some of that. Like, this was a complete surprise when you posted this. And I was like, I knew she had issues after her title match and she was left questioning And I thought, of course, that was storyline, but she came back. And she was doing well on quite a run for herself. So we also know that she is going to be appearing for Scott D'Amore in Maple Leaf Wrestling.
Yes.
And I wonder if her release has to do with more with Scott D'Amore and what happened there earlier this year.
I'm going to flat out tell you no, because we're going to cover Maple Leaf Wrestling for another wrestler from TNA who is signed to appear for that. And I'm leaving that as a cliffhanger.
I already know who that one is.
Yeah. Because we do have Maple Leaf Wrestling news to cover a little later on in the show.
Yes.
Gisele Shaw, I wouldn't mind. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, I want to see her fight Nyla Rose in the AEW. And I kind of want to steer away from the fact that they are both transgender women. And yeah, but putting them in the ring against one another would be fantastic. It'd be a great match. But there's a part of me that does want to see Gisele Shaw eventually make it to NXT. And just like you said, OMD, go on through the independent circuit. Hint, hint, Danny Duggan.
There is another woman who has recently made her return to the pro wrestling ring that, again, this would blaze a trail that I would love to see Gisele go up and compete against. That being one Gabby Tuft.
I kind of want to steer away from that a little bit.
I get where you're coming from, but I would love to see it. And this is a situation where I would personally love to ask these women, would they be open to this, to break down that barrier and allow two transgender wrestlers to compete against each other?
Well, I think in retrospect, I can imagine like we've seen women headline WrestleMania. We've seen men headline WrestleMania. So I would have to assume that these transgender women are thinking, how cool would it be if they headlined a huge show against one another? So I'm not saying that I'm against the idea.
Right.
I just, I guess there's a part of me that's like, I would really hate it if I saw the IWC coming in and saying, oh, Nyla Rose is fighting Gabby Tuft because they're both transgender women. Like,
right.
That's where I want to say, get the F out. You're not a real wrestling fan.
I am 100% with you there, because I would love to see it, because it breaks down
that barrier,
that wall. It blazes that trail for more transgender athletes, more members of the LGBTQ community. So that's why I'm all for it. I'm not going to sit here and say we need to go out and have a triple threat or have a title, a specific title, but to get that barrier broken.
Right. And Shaw's last match was taped over this weekend. As we know, TNA did a bunch of tapings. And it will air on TNA Impact in the near future. So we don't know exactly what that means. It's probably going to be like a month from now, I'm going to assume.
Yeah. Because it's funny, because with TNA taping, they've got a current superstar who is suspended pending an investigation, but yet he's featured on TV quite regularly. And that being one Rich Swann.
Oh, yeah. I do. I'm very intrigued to see exactly where Gisele ends up. And again, if she does want to tour the Indies, like I said, Danny Duggan, hint, hint, hire her.
Yep.
Bring her on for a tour.
Please.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Gisele. I'm more than likely gonna look her up a little bit, because I'm not too familiar. I know how hot of a property she was in TNA, but I'm not too familiar with her in-ring, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on her in-ring, you know?
Right, absolutely.
I think it's time already that we move on to another story that's been mired in a little bit of controversy over the last couple of days. Um, we've seen the internet has been abuzz over the removal of a certain wrestler from the WWE's roster page, and we're going to talk about the Oddyssey of Oddyssey Jones.
Yes.
Word has come out today that he has been fired from the WWE because of because of allegations of domestic abuse.
Yes. Now, the two people that are corroborating each other, I really don't have a whole lot of faith in, and I don't have a whole lot of trust in. For me, that is just clickbait for them until we get an official press release from WWE saying we have come to terms with the release of. I'm not buying it. Yes, they've sort of they didn't mention him at all last night on Raw. They've sort of steered clear of that.
No, the only thing we ever got close to that was a brief sighting of Kofi in the locker room.
Yeah.
That would have been like related to that in some way. Sorry, you were saying?
So until I get, I mean, because who knows? Like, this could be false allegations made against him. This could be something that's completely been blown out of proportion. This might just be something. Maybe he had asked for his release. Who knows?
I don't think
you brought him up for a year and didn't use him. Now all of a sudden in the past month you use him and then you're just going to cut him. I can think of numerous other wrestlers who have done similar stuff and were named in other measures that probably should have been released and didn't get released or have their debuts derailed, aka Matt Riddle.
Well, Matt Riddle did get released.
Yes,
because
but
of his legal troubles.
Yes, but when he made his SmackDown debut, he was named in another movement out on social media called the Speaking Out movement. And it didn't delay his release. It didn't delay his debut, anything like that.
Yeah, because Riddle came out and said, look, all of those allegations are false. And then the woman who made those allegations also said they were false prior to him coming up.
I don't know. I only read about it like literally the day of his debut.
Yeah. I followed that case pretty closely because that was I mean the Enzo Amore stuff was still pretty fresh around then for it to me. So
right.
But at the same time, I don't think WWE would bring to light domestic abuse allegations by announcing his firing. Because if those allegations are there, it is something that you would want to quietly handle. Because let's face it, in our local news, right, when we read about a domestic abuse allegation, do we see the names of the people involved? We really don't.
No, we don't. But I mean, even in that situation, you can still get we have come to terms with the release of Oddyssey Jones. We wish him all the best in his future endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't even got that.
Yeah, and again, we're under Hunter's way of releasing guys, so maybe he just doesn't announce them. But all in all, I agree with you. The two people who did put this out, and I'm just going to say their names. It's Brian Alvarez and SRS who have done it. No arrests have been made at this point, but he is, as it stands right now, fired from the WWE. And there's a part of me that thinks maybe WWE might have jumped the gun on this one, or maybe WWE has more information that they can't release at this point in time, pending what the police are saying about the situation.
Right. I mean, because look at the other situation now with Nicole Garcia's husband, and I will refer to her by her proper name since she is not under WWE contract, who was arrested on the charges of the same sort of stuff over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know. We don't have full clarification.
We've got
We know.
we've got the 911 call. We've got the dispatchers talking about it as well. That's what's out there right now.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that they got put out Sunday night. But yeah, this is another thing that hits a little bit closer to home for me too.
Yep.
I've been in these domestic I'm just going to flat out say I've been in these situations
Right.
myself. I'm not going to say names or anything like that, you know. Um, so I do hope there's a part of me that hopes that everything does get cleared for Odyssey. There's a part of me that does want to see him back. Maybe we do see him back once everything is cleared out and whatnot. Um, maybe Hunter might have actually just said, "We're going to release you for now until until you can clear this
Right.
situation."
But usually in a situation like that, and we just saw it with Rich Swann, you would suspend the wrestler, suspend the talent pending an investigation, because there would be an investigation in the company. And who knows? I mean, this might have been two guys from the locker room blowing off steam.
That's not a domestic abuse situation, though.
No, it's not. So
I mean,
that's
look
all
at
we're hearing from two people that I don't really consider credible.
look at who was it? Drew McIntyre and Tiffany was her name.
Yes.
That was a domestic abuse situation there where Tiffany got fired.
Yep.
Rich Swann, we've already mentioned him, was fired from the WWE for a domestic abuse situation as well.
Yes, he was.
So again, like I said, I think WWE maybe they have more evidence of the situation and they can't say anything just yet.
Right. Right.
Because I know that several news sources have said they tried to contact WWE and they're not saying anything right now.
Right.
But we got Bobby Stats coming in saying, "Hello, guys. How's it going, Bobby? Glad to have you on the show."
Nice to see you as always, Bobby. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining.
I mean, last night on Raw, it was peculiar that we didn't see anything New Day, anything Final Testament, or anything Oddyssey Jones. But at the
Right.
same time, we were coming fresh off a pay-per-view. So I'm thinking that if this situation does pan out and Oddyssey is confirmed to be fired, I think we put to rest everything that they've planned to do with him.
Yes. Bobby, you're doing the same thing we are. We're just doing the talking on the show.
But yeah, now here's a kind of a sad situation for Oddyssey. I mean, here's a dude who had it all. He was when he came to the WWE, and this is something because I was digging deeper into his career a little bit and who he was, but I didn't know that the Syracuse football team that he came from, Syracuse College, actually recommended that he go to the PC.
Really?
Yeah, I did not know that, but as I was digging deeper, it was his coach on the Syracuse team that recommended he go.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't really follow Oddyssey. For me, when I saw him on NXT, it was just, okay, another big guy. Let's see what he can do. You know, we watched a year ago as he got drafted to Raw and then sat on the shelf for close to 18 months before being utilized in the last month.
Which I now kind of understand when I was digging into it. During that time, I read into it. He was actually at the PC just getting some more seasoning in him. That's what he was doing.
Well, that's and good on him. I mean,
Yeah.
putting in the work to earn his spot so that he could make an impact.
Make an impact, you say?
I do.
I think that's a great segue for our next story. Our next story is going to cover some Maple Leaf Wrestling. We were talking Scott D'Amore earlier, and you actually brought this up. I believe it was one of the PlayStation showcases we did last week, where we talked about Josh Alexander. He is coming to Maple Leaf Wrestling to take on Takeshita. That's not what we call him off screen, though, but that's besides the point.
Inosuke Takeshita.
Yeah. It's actually pronounced Takeshita, but all right.
I don't know. I'm going with the way every other promoter and announcer.
Yeah, they've actually been saying it wrong. The first official match set for next month's Maple Leaf Wrestling event in Windsor, Ontario. I did remember the last couple of weeks I've been saying I need to find a way to watch this show.
Yes.
Well, guess what? There now is a way.
Wonderful.
They have announced a partnership with Triller TV for their first 2 pay-per-view events. They're going to be priced individually at $19.99, or you can get the both of them for the same for $29.99.
Wow.
This is honestly
a $10 discount.
Yeah. This is honestly something that kind of surprised me. I thought, because I go on Triller TV to watch some, because they do have some free wrestling events, and I do look at the cost of the pay-per-views there. Even for like just your minor organizations, you're still paying close to $40 to $50, depending on which company you're ordering off of.
Right.
So to see that price for me, I was really surprised at that. OMD, what do you think of that price point?
I'm excited. I mean, we haven't seen prices that reasonable since the debut of TNA, when they were doing a Wednesday night pay-per-view weekly at $9.99.
$9.99. I used to order those pay-per-views every week, and it actually caught up to me on my cable bill.
I can imagine.
But no, this does interest me. I do like the price point, $20, and it gets you probably what is going to be a 2.5 hour show, or you pay the $30, and now you've got at least 5 hours of wrestling that you've paid for right there.
Yep.
And the matches and the wrestlers that they have announced for the show have got me intrigued. I definitely will need to find the money to pay for this show at some point. They've already been doing this too over on the Maple Leaf Wrestling channel. You can go there and catch some classic Maple Leaf Wrestling show matches and events there right now. Right now I'm looking at one video of Ric Flair and Angelo Mosca taking on Greg Valentine, and I can't see who the rest of the name here. Give me 1 second. Greg Valentine. Oh, and the Iron Sheik. Wow. Okay, yeah, I definitely know that. Yeah, that's old school wrestling right there.
You know, and it's funny, if you want to talk old school, I read a very interesting story from an interview today with the Honky Tonk Man. And
interesting.
The reason he became the Honky Tonk Man was he was going around it was actually a hair versus hair rivalry, but instead of shaving your opponent bald, you got to dye your opponent's hair.
Oh yeah, I remember Jerry Lawler talking about this story actually.
So then the one day he came out and his hair was black, and they told him, "You look like Elvis. Have you ever thought about this?" And he's like, "No, Bill Dundee does that." Mm-hmm. I always thought Bill Dundee was Honky Tonk Man.
So you had no idea it was Wayne Ferris.
I did not.
I love Honky Tonk Man. When he got inducted, I'm like, yes, I can now die a happy man, because honestly, one of the greatest heels in wrestling history, right?
Right.
one of the worst baby faces in wrestling history too. Because when he came to the WWF, a lot of people don't remember this, but he was a baby face and he was Hulk Hogan's tag team partner for a brief
Yes, he
period.
was. I
Um,
vaguely remember that.
it was like 2-3 months tops, and then they're like, "This isn't working," and Honky was like, "Well, turn me heel. Let's see what happens there." And then
Yeah.
that's the when he took the guitar and cracked it over Jake's head. That's when he turned heel there.
Okay.
Um, but no, this is just making me just looking at this. This is making me even more excited for Maple Leaf Pro to be coming back. I mean,
Right.
we had our iteration of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling growing up, but it wasn't actual Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. It wasn't Jack Tunney or his brother running it. It was WWF Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, and we still got the difference that we got for our Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling versus like Wrestling Challenge or Superstars was all the matches on WWF Maple Leaf Wrestling were taped in Canada. I'm
Yes.
betting you didn't. Oh, you did know that.
Yeah.
But $19.99 or $29.99 for both shows.
I'm
The
all
last
for it.
the last time I paid $29.99 that I can think of for a full pay-per-view might have been like WrestleMania 11.
Yeah, and I believe this first pay-per-view is actually a 2-night event, is it not? Or is it both nights that are under the $29.99 price?
It just says the next both pay-per-views, so it might be both those shows. But already announced on the show, we've talked about some of these wrestlers before, but we've got Speedball Mike Bailey, Miyu Yamashita, Jinder Mahal. This one I forgot was even going to be on the show. Trevor Lee, formerly known as Cameron Grimes,
Yes.
which I'm excited for just because I love Cameron Grimes. Absolutely
Right.
wish that they would have done something with him in the WWE.
See, and I love I've watched him since he was Trevor Lee and coming out of Cameron, North Carolina, long before To the Moon, when he was the Technical Savage. And I loved him. Yes, I love the Cameron Grimes gimmick, the Cameron Grimes character, but as the Technical Savage, he was masterful.
And I've gone back and watched him in that character as well, and I did see elements of that Technical Savage character brought to Cameron Grimes when he was in the ring.
Yeah, very, very slim.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've got Raj Desi. We touched on Gisele Shaw earlier that she's been announced for it.
And Kushida is going to be on the show too, and I absolutely love that dude.
Yep.
Bobby Stats coming in saying that he loves him some Cameron Grimes as well.
Yep.
So if you want your Cameron Grimes fix, Bobby Stats, go on Triller TV and get this pay-per-view. I'm trying to look for a date though, because I haven't heard the date. That's the one thing I can't remember about the show. Have you heard anything?
I had. I can't remember the date offhand either. I will try and see if I can find it here.
It just says debut events in October. Oh, October 19th, October 20th. So it is probably going to be the whole weekend for $30, which again, that's still not a bad deal.
Not at all.
And it's going to be taking place at St. Clair College, Windsor Park, Ontario. You know, this is something I was thinking about too. We were talking last night on the Raw Patrol, pay-per-views coming to our city from smaller promotions. Maple Leaf Pro. Yeah, come on up here. Use the gardens. You're setting up at a show at the college. Why not the George Leach Center? The gym at Sioux College is a great venue for wrestling as well. Yeah. Actually, the college at the gym, the gym at the college, and the George Leach Center are actually perfect wrestling venues because I know that they've got everything as far as keeping wrestlers who want to keep in shape. They've got the gyms right there in both
Yeah.
buildings.
Yep.
Yeah, let's keep this ball rolling. MLPW.
MLPW. Yes.
Yeah, I keep stumbling on that P. That P is throwing me off because I keep thinking Major League Wrestling.
I can completely get it.
Yeah, I'm this. The more announcements I hear out of Maple Leaf Pro, the more excited I get, and I really need to go in and listen to Chris Van Vliet talking to Scott D'Amore there, because I
Yes.
guarantee you there's more information about Maple Leaf Pro that he's going to have in that interview.
Yes. Now, you
But
touched on stumbling over the people, but you know what? I want to touch on something because this was a question you guys brought to me last night during the Raw Patrol.
mhm.
And you guys know I have a very hard time being able to hear the show.
Right.
So I go back at midnight and I put it on when I go to bed.
Okay.
So I was listening to Joe Tessitore and I could really hear, yes, he had his unique spin on it and his voice, but I could really hear Michael Cole coming through and elements of Jim Ross.
That's a good thing, right?
It is.
So what I got out of it too, because Joe Tessitore was fantastic last night, I feel like he brought more of a sports element to the show,
Right.
and that was really cool to hear that. There's one small gripe I did have. Just telling the story a little bit more in matches would have been nice.
Right. Right. But I mean, all in all, for a first time out,
Mm-hmm.
good on him.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy about the way he did it. I was worried that when he came in and started doing that, I thought he was going to end up like Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith, Adnan Virk.
Well, see, I'm not going to criticize Adnan Virk because I actually did enjoy him.
I didn't mind him. I thought it was a little bit strange because he had never ventured into anything like that when he was working for the Score here in Canada and Sportsnet.
Well, actually, he kind of did. He did a lot of work with the Olympics as far as commentary goes.
Yeah, but he had never ventured into sports entertainment and the pro wrestling. He was never on Aftermath, or as it was previously known to that, Right After Wrestling.
Yeah.
With Jackie Redmond and our friend Jimmy Corderas.
And Carl is coming in. He's right here. He's saying he needs to learn the stories more to be able to tell the stories better. And that's going to come in due time, guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was something that might have been better served for the season premiere of Raw when you're sort of wrapping up stories and ready to start some new ones, as we just did over the weekend. But now you can really start all new storylines with the season premieres coming up.
But it does feel like this coming season premiere, there is going to be a lot of new stories being started, especially when it comes to the Intercontinental title. We're going to see a new contender come out of that. Bobby Stad's coming in and saying, I feel like by October, November, he will get better at it. He's just, as we've already been reiterating, he's just got to learn the stories a little bit more.
Yes.
And I mean, let's face it. I mean, JR wasn't the greatest announcer when he first started. Neither was Gordon Soley when he first started.
No.
And
no.
I was going to say and Vince McMahon too, but Vince was already around. He knew the stories when he decided to take over commentary.
Yep.
Or when his dad gave him the commentary position, I should say, because he did commentary in the 70s that a lot of us wouldn't remember. But in the end, Joe, I'm so far, I'm really enjoying what Joe Tessitore is giving to us. It does feel like that he does know the product. That's a given.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I want to see just how far how much further he can go with this. And I'm intrigued to see how he gets more excited over the stories as he goes on, because you could tell he was trying to get that that excited expression out
Right.
whenever, to use an example, Io Sky delivered a moonsault in the match, and he did use that inflection that
Right. See,
commentators do use.
I didn't hear a whole lot of that from him. I sort of did find him not monotone, but very even keeled
Mm-hmm.
throughout the show.
Oh, we
So
got ourselves a.
overwhelming there was no overwhelming enthusiasm, but not he was never underwhelmed and bored.
Mm-hmm. We got ourselves another TNA crossover for the second week in a row. Rosemary's coming out, and she's got Tatum Paxley on
Yes, she
against
does.
in the face tonight. This
And
time though,
Wendy Choo in
Rosemary.
the corner of Rosemary.
I was just gonna say this time around, Rosemary came. Wendy Choo came out with Rosemary. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see this. I need to. I do need just a little bit more of Joe Tessitore, and like I said, I just need a little bit more excitement out of him for the stories that are being told. And I just need
Right.
him to tell the stories a little bit more, because I was, again, like I was saying last night when I was watching, I'm like, I imagine myself as if I was a new viewer, have never seen wrestling before, but tuned in and saw WWE Raw on my screen and got intrigued to see what it was about.
Right.
um,
Well,
but
I think
speaking of,
as we've alluded to crossovers throughout the night, I think that's a great segue potentially to our main segment.
no, it isn't, because I got one more story.
Okay.
I got a story of a major signing from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
It may not sound major to you, but it is major in the world of Japanese pro wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling has signed former GHC heavyweight champion, that's the heavyweight title in Pro Wrestling Noah, former Triple Crown heavyweight champion, that's the main title in All Japan Pro Wrestling, Jake Lee has signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is a huge get for New Japan right now. He's already making threats at going after Tanahashi for the heavyweight title there.
Okay.
This is a gigantic deal. He's talked about. He actually said something pretty interesting too in his in the press conference where they announced his signing. There was speculation that he was going to come over here and wrestle for AEW or WWE, and he addressed these comments and he says, "What a drama! What a vision to create! But just because there are big companies elsewhere, does that make this a small pond? Does it? Of course not. This is a symbol of Japanese wrestling, and there is more than enough to be done here. I truly believe with all my heart, that is, if I have a heart," because he's a heel. But yeah, this excites me because I've seen what
Okay.
this guy can do, and he is
Right.
good.
This is a name I have never heard.
Look him up. Do it. Get on your phone right now. You like to type away on your phone. Get on your phone right now and look him up,
I will do that after the show.
because he is a very, very exciting wrestler to watch.
Okay.
This dude has got an extremely bright future of him, in front of him. He is a member of the Bullet Club War Dogs right now.
Okay.
He has expressed ambitions during the Q&A session, which is obviously to go after the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Yes, he Carl, Bullet Club War Dogs member. Totally excited about this. Cannot wait to see what they do with him in New Japan. I'm planning on getting my New Japan Pro Wrestling World subscription at some point,
Right.
and it makes me more excited that because if I do that, I am going to get more Jake Lee out of this whole deal. This is a huge signing for New Japan.
Okay.
But seriously, look him up, dude.
Okay.
Do it. But let's move on to our main event segment, just as you had said. Well, we're going from one main event to our main event.
On his feet. Oh my God in heaven!
That so my computer screen just froze up, and it froze up right when Shawn Michaels connected with the super kick. That was beautiful. But our main event segment is we're talking about JBL. We're talking about him showing up in AAA, GCW just this past weekend, TNA. We're talking about his Legends deal as well and what that entails now. Because first of all, what do you make of what JBL has been doing here?
I'm intrigued because I'm wondering if he's going out on a scouting mission or if he's going out to try and open some new branches for crossovers.
Now, you said that, and I'm reminded of a comment in one of my wrestling groups where they said that JBL said that, but I asked for sources and I got none. So I looked up JBL. I didn't see anywhere where he even remotely mentions that.
Right. I mean, we don't know. I am intrigued because, yes, he is under a WWE Legends deal, so he cannot use WWE intellectual property, which is why, as you've noticed, it is just John Layfield.
Yeah, he's just been going out as John Layfield. He's using a different theme song, but that's where I'm a little bit like, because when he went to TNA, I'm actually surprised that they didn't allow him to come out to his JBL song at that point, because I know the NXT stars, when they're coming over to wrestle matches, they use their NXT themes.
Yes. From all of these appearances outside of AAA, where he accompanied Nick Nemeth to the ring, he hasn't used a theme.
He used a theme though when he showed up on TNA though on Friday or at Emergence. I mean, yeah, he did. There was a theme played. I watched it too. There was a theme. You got to listen closely, dude.
I was listening. It was literally just him walking. There was nothing in the background.
There was music. There was a Titantron. You're an old man. You couldn't see it. You couldn't hear it.
I would have seen.
Trust me, dude. Yeah, I know you would have seen the Tron, but there was music. I had my headphones on full blast. I heard music.
So, but yeah, he comes out, whispers something to Nick. And it's funny because when he accompanied Nick in AAA to the ring for his world title defense, he turned on Nick Nemeth.
Yeah, he cost Nick Nemeth the heavyweight title and gave it to Alberto El Patron.
Yes. Yes, we've seen him in Game Changer Wrestling and helping Mance Warner retain the heavyweight title.
I see. I can see why with the Mance Warner stuff, because I do remember. Sometimes I'll tune in and listen to JBL's podcast that he does with Jerry Briscoe.
Okay.
And he has spoken highly of Mance Warner several times on that show. But yeah, the weird thing about this to me is that the old Legends deals that were under our previous establishment of under the WWE didn't allow for wrestlers to make these kind of appearances that JBL has. No. JBL still has his Legends deal with the WWE.
Yeah.
And as you've already alluded to, he's allowed to show up at other promotions. Well, actually, under the old way, it was you were still allowed to show up at other promotions, providing it wasn't a televised event or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
But now they're kind of allowing that, and it's intriguing to me at this point.
And you know what I do find funny is if you go back and watch Because we all remember him as when he debuted as Justin Hawk Bradshaw.
And that's the other thing that's really confusing me, because I've only known him since his debut in 95 up until just a couple of weeks ago, showing up in other promotions. I've only known him to be a WWE guy.
Right. But you see him coming out in the long trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
Although, yes, as Blackjack Bradshaw and Justin Hawk Bradshaw, he had the vest. I believe a couple of times he wore the long coat as Justin Hawk Bradshaw. So you're getting the elements of sort of almost everything he has done throughout.
Yeah, because you're getting, at the start of his career, he used to come to the ring, managed by Dutch Mantel. And he did wear a long trench coat for, it had to have been like a couple of months before he switched over to the vest. He did wear that. And then again at Emergence, when he showed up with the trench coat. He had the white Stetson that represented the JBL side of his character, and the jeans that would have represented the APA side of him.
Yeah.
I never even put that together, that he was representing all of his past characters with that outfit.
Yeah. And I mean, he is just John Layfield because he can't use the Bradshaw intellectual property.
Which is funny, because that's actually his middle name.
No, it's not. It's J.C. Layfield.
Right, but he did legally change it to Bradshaw at one point.
Oh, well. You pay more attention to that stuff than I do.
Yeah. This intrigues me now, because I'm also thinking about another person who recently signed a Legends deal that I'm very excited about, and that's one Victoria as well.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see like what they're going to do with her as far as her Legends deal goes now. I do expect that she maybe shows up in TNA under the Terra character. I do want her in video games. I've been craving her to be in video games. I've been saying actually for years now that we need more female legends to be represented in WWE games.
Now, yes, I'm thrilled to see Victoria Lisa Marie Veron has signed her Legends deal. This is something that has been well earned and well waited for. But with John Layfield, I'm wondering, because we know he said that when he went to AAA that he would happily invest some money into the company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if he's saying that in GCW, in TNA as well. I wonder if we see him in Maple Leaf Pro.
That would be awesome.
As a investor into all of these different companies.
That would be awesome, but I do wonder, because you mentioned that he may be on a scouting mission, but he's been talking to Nick Nemeth lately, and Nick Nemeth is recently let go by WWE. I gotta. Okay, so we got some things here from Bobby Stats here, where Bobby Stats is saying, is JBL trying to be Nick Nemeth's manager in TNA? That's a little hard to say, given, again, like we talked about, he cost Nick Nemeth the title in AAA. And we got a brawl on our screen between Trick Williams and Pete.
I wonder if JBL is putting together a group from these various promotions to launch an invasion angle.
Kind of sounds like Bullet Club, because Bullet Club was also multi-promotion as well. Because we had Bullet Club start off in New Japan. Bullet Club then went to TNA. Bullet Club then went to, well, you can say WWE with the Balor Club and all that, or the OC, and even now in AEW.
Yes.
But we got Bobby Stats also saying that he'd be interested to see if he shows up in MLW. I don't think that will be the case, given that JBL does have a WWE Legends deal, and the relationship between WWE and MLW is not exactly the best right now.
No, it is very, very sour, a very, very bitter relationship with a lot of legal drama that we don't know enough about to get into and discuss on this show.
Right. But I'm just looking at right now. It says here JBL is signed to a Legends deal with the WWE. This means he is permitted to appear for other promotions as long as he does not use, as you had said, WWE's intellectual property. WWE has no issue with JBL making appearances as they view it as they do with other all other Hall of Famers who do the same. The wording was a little messed up in the article.
Right.
So yeah, it's cool that he's allowed to do, I guess, now televised appearances, because that was one caveat that Vince did not like with the Legends deal.
Yeah.
And obviously Hunter's being a little bit more lenient with these Legends deals, and I kind of like that even more.
Right.
And that actually reminds me of a time on YouTube under the Vince regime. I saw Jerry Lawler was doing a one of those Comic-Con kind of things, and some fan went up to ask him to see if he can sit down and do an interview. And Jerry said, "I can't, because WWE does not want me to be being interviewed on screen." Right. For other wrestling companies. I guess he had a list of pre-approved websites he could do interviews for, or that he'd be scheduled to do for.
Right. I know we like to refer to this as Triple H, but Triple H is just the chief content. So I'm going to give the credit here in this case to TKO and to Nick Khan.
Yeah. That's true too, but we all know that Triple H and Nick Khan work hand in hand together. So
they do.
Yeah,
they do.
So now I'm more excited to see what these other legends that are under the Legends deal showing up at other wrestling promotions on televised. I'm very intrigued to see this, and good on JBL for going out there and exploring the wrestling business after his WWE career is done. I know he knew of the other promotions. I mean, he had to have, especially growing up in the wrestling industry during the Attitude Era. He obviously knew about WCW.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this brings, if it's more avenues, if he is actually an investor, or if this is just character work.
I think this is just him doing character stuff, and just him going out there and seeing what's out there for the for pro wrestling for him, experiencing different locker rooms, because all he's ever known is the WWF WWE locker room.
Right.
As far as the things that I've been hearing about him going on a scouting mission for the WWF or WWE, no, he's not doing that. I'm going to flat out tell you he's not doing that, because that is what is considered contract tampering, and that's illegal.
It's contract tampering if they try to open negotiations with somebody.
Right, but if JBL, if it was found out that JBL was there doing the scouting, there's certain legalities that are probably there that you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, certainly. But if they're there because they've heard of somebody in a company, and I mean, obviously we don't need to use Nick Nemeth. We know that what WWE knows about him. But maybe WWE doesn't know a whole lot about Mance Warner.
Well, Mance Warner was actually, WWE did try to reach out to him after his MLW deal came to an end.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
I did not.
Yeah, WWE tried to reach out to him, but he was weighing out his options, and he figured GCW was the better option for him, which honestly, for Mance Warner and the way he wrestles, GCW is the place for him.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I get it if JBL showed up at, say, CWE and
that would be incredible.
Yeah, and say he was there to scout Mentalo or somebody, then, or even Vinny.
Right.
I could see that, but not showing up to companies that have televised events like AAA, like GCW,
Right.
or TNA for that matter. I don't think he was there scouting for wrestlers. It's possible. It is possible that somewhere down the line, let's say Mance Warner's contract comes up, and maybe Triple H reaches out to JBL and says, "Hey, what do you think of this Mance Warner dude?" That's fine there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it also depends, are these like one-offs with these different promotions, or is he going to make repeat appearances?
Right. That's the question that we're gonna have to answer for another day, as we have reached our 1 hour mark. JBL, good on you again for going out and checking out these other wrestling promotions, getting yourself more involved, and broadening your horizons with the wrestling industry. Good on you for that one. But OMD, what do you say we hand out them good old socials?
I think the people would love to know where they can find either of us at. So if the people want to find me, they can find me on the Book of Faces, Daniel Hrycyk, HRYCYK. On Snapchat, One Man Dynamic, capitals on OM&D. On Twitch at OMD17 and Discord at OMD6370.
All right, and you guys can find me at youtube.com at CBRS Entertainment, twitch.tv CBRS_entertainment, threads.net at CBS Films 83, facebook.com Chris.best83, tiktok.com at CBRS.entertainment. And before we say our goodbyes and so longs, let's show you a little commercial of all the things we've got going on right here at Turnbuckle Studios. And that's everything going on at Turnbuckle Studios this week. It's going to be a fantastic week. Be sure to check out tomorrow, especially when we debut the new Harry Potter game.
Yes.
OMD?
Before you can even ask the question, ladies and gentlemen, in the immortal words of Carl Carafel, the world is a scary place. Take care of each other. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios, good night, good luck. We out.